Hi there, folks, and welcome to a video review of our next big assignment in the course, which is planning and prepping a mock week of class. The reason that I'm doing this through video, you'll be able to see that further down on the page there is some written instruction, is just there's a little bit of complexity to this, so I wanted to walk through some things, some suggestions, some guideposts, a few logistical things about how this is all going to sort of spill out over the next couple of weeks. So, the very first most important thing is if you have not already accepted it, I need you to go into your Lindenwood University email address, so your at lindenwood.edu Outlook account, and accept your invitation to the Canvas course, Teaching Creative Writing Lessons. Um, the reason for that course is that is where you are actually going to put all of your material. You're going to build your lesson plan there, and your activities for us to complete. I'm going to also put into this page a really quick video on how to create certain items in Canvas, because I would not necessarily expect that you have all done that before. But I just want to reassure you also that your grades on this are in no way related to like the aesthetics or the accessibility of those assignments in Canvas. This is not a class about specifically learning the best design principles for teaching online. So you don't need to worry about like if you have a page of instructions or if you have a discussion board or something else like that that's going to be on a page in Canvas that it needs to look a certain way or anything like that. It's really about the material that is there, because again, this is not a class that is about teaching you how to use Canvas. It is a class about teaching you how to teach writing. Okay, so don't worry about those kinds of things. Okay, so then let's talk just a little bit about what the scope of this assignment is. So what I'm going to be asking you to do is, you've constantly been doing these assignments that are related to a class of your choice, your dream course, some creative writing class that you want to teach. And you have been permitted, I don't know that I've been saying this in previous assignments, to do materials for different kinds of classes. So your sample syllabus does not have to be the same class that the workshop guidelines that you created would be for, or that the single class activity that you already created would be for. And the material that you're going to make, the activities and assignment that you're going to create in this big assignment, can be from one of those classes that you've thought about, or it could be from a completely different subject or idea. Okay, so that is entirely up to you. As with previous assignments, any level is really okay. So this could be a week of material that you would use in an intro class, a week of material that you might use in a fiction writing course. It could be something like, I really want to teach a class on writing sonnets, kind of like we have in the program here. It could be a graduate level course, anything you want. Whatever it is that you're excited and interested in teaching and in building material for is acceptable. Um, any modality is acceptable. So what do I mean by that? Generally speaking, you're going to pick one of three things. So imagining that you're teaching a class that's approximately an 8-week course. So this is 1/8 of a course. 1 16-week course. This is 1/16, or a week of an in-person course of your choice. Now, because you are going to have to convey everything and get us to do everything online, the one thing that you would want to think about is that a version of an online class is going to kind of require electronic versions of things. So a subject that you might otherwise have an in-person discussion of will need to be translated to a discussion board. A lecture that you might give on a subject in class would either need to be like I've been doing with a presentation, and a voiceover video, or you could find a room, a space in your home or at a school or something, if you want to record how you would be writing on a dry erase board or a chalkboard. Set up your computer or a phone to record yourself pretending to give a lecture in a classroom. That's also fine. Really up to you. But you will have to tweak in some ways what it is that you're doing if you're imagining this is an in-person class versus an online class. And you'll be able to, you can indicate that, so you can say, hey, this is a discussion board. This would normally be an in-class discussion where I would want us to discuss these following questions. Just go ahead and discuss them amongst yourselves here. Okay. I'll talk a little bit more about that um, shortly. So that's the general scope, but there are a few things that I would like you not to do. So I don't want you to create a week of how you would workshop. Um, and you might be wondering, well, why? The class I really want to teach is like very workshop heavy. Well, there's a couple of reasons for that. One, we've essentially already put together workshop guidelines. So we've all seen, and you have had the chance to kind of develop a sensibility about what it is that you would do in workshops. And the whole goal here is for you to be building a repository of how you would teach certain things. And I just don't want you to repeat yourself. And the other thing is when you are applying for and interviewing for jobs, as I hope happens for all of you that want them, you will often, if you get a visit to a campus or a second interview, are going to usually be asked to do some sort of demonstration. And while some schools will have a very specific scope of what they want you to do, they are generally probably not going to want you to do a sample workshop. So they're going to want you to do something else. And so the goal here is to sort of help you prep some ideas for what that is going to look like down the line. So you'll have like a sample of, and usually it's one class period, but this way you'll have some larger context. You would be able to go do a demo on one class period, but you'd be able to say, the things that would either be coming before or after this might be these other things. Okay. Okay. So then let's talk about what it is that you're going to do. So the first thing you're going to do, and again, I'm going to walk through you on Canvas how to make anything that you might need. And if I have missed something that you need made, just let me know, and I will be happy to add an extra video or walk you through how to make things. So the first thing you're going to have is, so first of all, in this course, you're each going to find a module that is empty that has your name on it. It's going to say, Joe B's course activities, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So there will be one for each of you. So you're going to build them all in that module. Okay. So you're going to give us a page that gives us as your fellow classmates. So not pretending to be for students, some context. So what's the class? Where in the term would this occur? Is this really for an in-person class? What comes before it in your mind and what comes after it? And then frequency of meetings. And so that's really if it's in person. It would just be helpful to know, are you breaking things apart in terms of like a Monday, Wednesday, Friday class or some other arrangement of 3 days a week? So for like 50 minutes each, or a Tuesday, Thursday, or whatever combination of 2 days a week for like 75 minutes? Or are you imagining like 2.5 hour, 2 hour, 45-minute session? And then just indicate if you do that, like these things in this unit are for day one, these things are for day two, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. So just walk us through if you choose to do that. If you make it for an online class, you wouldn't need that. But it would just be helpful to see how that breaks down. Okay. Then just a few things about what you need to have in the unit. So one, there should include at least one piece of model text reading. And that's going to need to be something that obviously you can provide via a link. So it's going to need to be something that's available somewhere, free access online. That could be a single poem, could be a short story, could be an essay, could be a chapter of a novel if you can find one that's available online, et cetera, et cetera. So just something that students, that is your peers and myself in this class, will be engaging with. Okay. You also need to have at least one interactive activity or exercise. So you can't just have read these 3 stories and submit a writing exercise. We need to interact with one another in some way. Okay. And what that is up to you. I would encourage you to include some kind of writing assignment. It doesn't have to. But I would encourage that. But you are gonna give feedback. If you ask us to do something, you are gonna give us feedback on that something / participate in it. So speaking of which, so those are the basics of what you got to have. But so speaking of your interaction and structure, the class as a whole is going to be split into 3 groups, and that's listed on a page in this module, which group you are in. And also in those groups, we're doing these in weeks 6 and 7. So at the most, for those of you in a group of 5 people, you will maybe be, depending on how the things break down, be doing 3 sets of lessons in week 6 and 2 sets of lessons in week 7. Just depending on how it breaks down, you might be doing either 3 and 1, 1 and 3, 2 and 2, just depends on the breakdown. But you're not going to be doing more than 3 people's things in a given week. Okay. And then, as it says here, as the instructor for your material, you are going to interact as if you are their teacher. So responding to posts, exercises, grading assignments. And the grading of assignments does not have to be super thorough, but this is just to give a little bit of experience in how you might give some of that feedback. Okay. And especially for those of you whose work is being done in week 7, you can give that feedback in week 8 if you make things due at the end of week 7. Okay. And then one short assignment that will be you will be asked to do in week 8 on our last week of class very early is you will submit very short feedback to your peers. You will write up one set of feedback that you will submit to me, and I will chop all of the feedback up and send it to each person. So you will write one document with all of your peers' feedback. Then I will split it apart. So only the person to whom you are giving feedback will see it. But just know they will see it. It will not have your name affixed to it, but they will see it. So your goal, as in every class you've taken in this program where you've given feedback, including our own, is going to be constructive but supportive. So things that you thought worked well, if there are things that you thought didn't work as well, explain why, but don't just say, this is really stupid, or this didn't teach me anything, or anything like that, okay? Okay, so then the last thing is, what am I going to do as the instructor of our larger course? So I am going to observe and review all of the material that you've submitted. I'm going to do my best to participate in everything, but that's going to be a lot of things to try to participate in 2 weeks. I will do my best. So I might just be something of a bad student, but I will participate as best I can. And as with so many of our materials, I just want to reassure you that generally speaking, as long as you are meeting those requirements that I've put earlier, there you have this explanatory page, at least one model text, at least one interactive activity, you are generally going to get full credit. Now, if you say this takes place over the course of 3 class meetings and here's one reading assignment and one set of 3 discussion questions, I'm going to wonder what you're filling the rest of the week with. But generally speaking, the feedback is given to help you. So you don't need to worry about whether I think that you are doing things pedagogically correctly. You are not getting evaluated on that. So you should feel free to take risks, do something sort of fun, goofy, weird that you think might be a really great thing, because this is about learning and developing. It is not about coming up with the absolute perfect right lesson plan on the very first try. Okay, so I don't want you to feel pressurized about that. So the evaluation, your grade on this is going to be, has this person submitted all of the things I've asked them to submit? Yes. Okay, you get your credit. Now here's my feedback on how it's constructed and what I might suggest about that. Okay. So those are the basics. Again, there's another video in here about how to create all of this stuff in Canvas. But if you have other questions about how this is going to work, please, please, please do not hesitate to ask. All right, that's it.